Chosen one, you did not stop on this video by accident, and the choice you are about to be shown is not what it appears to be. On the surface, it looks small. So small, you have walked past it for weeks. So small, your mind keeps dismissing it as nothing. But underneath that small thing is the entire architecture of the next 10 years of your life. The relationships that will find you, the doors that will open, the version of you that is finally allowed to emerge. And somewhere inside, you already know what choice I am talking about. You knew it before I said the title. You have been carrying it for weeks. The Father has been arranging this exact conversation for longer than you realize. The pull you felt before your screen even lit up. The strange stillness that came over you when this voice began. The way your breath slowed without you asking it to. None of that is coincidence. That is recognition. Today contains a small fork in the road. And what you do with it in the next 24 hours will quietly rearrange decades of your life. I am not here to scare you. I am here to make sure you do not miss it. So slow down. Stay with me. This is the message. Before we go any further, I want you to know something simple. Everything I share in the next 30 minutes is yours, freely. I am not holding anything back for later. But if at any point during this conversation your spirit tells you there is more you need to receive, the description below holds it, and the pinned comment too, but only if you feel led, never before. And I owe you a small roadmap before we begin, because what comes in the next half hour matters too much to leave to chance. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what the small choice in front of you is, and how to recognize it the next time it shows up. You will understand why it has kept reappearing in different forms for years, and why your delays were not failure but preparation. You will receive the framework to choose without needing perfect certainty, the same kind of clarity Esther had when one small action changed the future of an entire people. And at the end, I will walk you through a quiet activation that helps you carry the courage from this conversation into the moment of choosing tonight. So stay with me to the end. The most important part is not where most people think it is. Now let me show you what is already happening inside you, because the strange feeling you have been carrying for the last few weeks has a name, and once you hear it spoken back to you, the whole season starts to make sense. The first sign is the question that will not leave you alone. There is one specific question that has been with you for weeks now. It comes back at different hours, in different forms, but underneath it is always the same question. You have tried to answer it. You have tried to ignore it. You have tried to drown it under noise. And still, it returns, calmer than the last time, but more insistent. That is not anxiety. That is your spirit telling you the moment is approaching. The second sign is the way old things have stopped fitting. The hobbies that used to feed you, the conversations that used to entertain you, the rooms that used to feel like home. They have not changed. You have. And the strangest part is the small grief that comes with this realization, the quiet sadness of outgrowing things you used to love, like wearing clothes from a body that is no longer yours. You feel it in your chest when you think about that one specific decision, a tightness just below the breastbone that arrives the moment your mind wanders toward the choice. It is not your imagination. The body remembers what the mind keeps trying to forget. The body knows the threshold is there before you have given yourself permission to see it. You have been seeing the same number, or hearing the same word, or catching the same song in places it should not be appearing. 3 times this week, maybe more. You started to dismiss it as random, but something inside you keeps tracking the pattern, even when your mind tells you to stop. Trust that something. The world is more full of signs than the world admits. And there is one more sign, the strangest one, the one no one has named for you yet. A specific person from your past has come to mind, unprompted, 3 or 4 times in the last few days. You have not spoken to them in years. There is no obvious reason they should be on your mind, but they are. And the part of you that knows things before your mind catches up understands that they are part of the message. not the cause of the choice, but a marker that the season is turning. And I sense the Father saying, very gently, I have seen what you have been carrying. I have not missed a single moment of it. The weight you thought no one understood, I have been holding alongside you. The waiting you thought was wasted, I was using. Here is what most people never understand about delay. They think delay is the absence of movement. But delay, in the way the Father uses it, is one of the most active forms of preparation that exists. There were 3 specific seasons of waiting in the last few years that you experienced as failure. I want to give them their real names. The first was the season of being overlooked. The years when you did the work and no one noticed. When you were faithful in the small thing and no door opened. When you watched people with half your depth get the elevation you were waiting for. That season looked like rejection. It was not rejection. That season was forming your inner authority, because anyone who needs a stage to speak with confidence will lose their voice the moment the stage shakes. But you were given years of speaking with no stage at all, and what was built in that silence is the kind of inner authority that does not collapse when the room goes quiet. You have it now. You did not have it before. The second was the season of confusion. The stretch of time when you could not tell which direction to take, when the guidance felt blocked, when every choice looked equally heavy. That season looked like spiritual dryness. It was not dryness. That season was forming your discernment, because before you can tell the difference between fear and wisdom, between the voice of your wound and the voice of your calling, you have to spend a long time sitting in the noise without acting. You learn to feel the difference. You can tell now. You could not tell before. The third was the season of unanswered prayer. The years you asked for one specific thing, and heaven seemed to say nothing in return. That season looked like abandonment. It was not abandonment. That season was forming your patience to choose at the right moment, not the urgent one. The world rewards speed. The Father rewards timing. And the same person who learns to hold a prayer for 2 years without forcing an answer is the same person who can stand at a threshold and choose without panic. That patience is in you now. It was not in you before. Each of those seasons looked like the absence of progress. Each of them was the architecture of the person you needed to become to hold what is now on the other side of the door. The confusion was the curriculum. The waiting was the formation. The silence was the strategy. Your formation was not delayed. It was being completed. And the choice that is now in front of you is the one your formed self was always meant to make. There is one woman in Scripture who lived this exact tension. Her name was Esther, an orphan girl raised in exile, who through a strange series of events ended up in the palace of a king. She did not ask for the position. She did not feel ready for it. And then one day, through events she did not engineer, she was placed in a moment where one small action of hers, approaching the king uninvited, would either save her people or end her life. What most people miss is what happened in the hours before her choice. She did not announce herself with confidence. She did not feel destined. She trembled. She fasted. She asked for 3 days of silence before she did the small thing. And then she stood up, walked into the throne room, and risked it all. Her words to those around her were 5 words that have echoed for 3,000 years. If I perish, I perish. It looked like one moment. It was actually the entire architecture of a nation, because what she did in that 30-second walk into the throne room redirected the future of every Jewish family who came after her. The choice was small. The architecture underneath the choice was not. There is a word in the original Hebrew that I want to give you, because it is the word the Father places on every chosen one who reaches the threshold Esther reached. The word appears in the book of Deuteronomy, in a passage where Moses speaks to a people standing on the edge of their promised land. He says, I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. And then he says one word that the English translation does not fully carry. He says, Bacha, choose. In the original Hebrew, bakar does not just mean to pick one option from a list. It means to be set apart by what you choose. The word implies that the very act of choosing is what marks you. The choice does not just shape the future. The choice shapes who you are in the moment of choosing. The act itself is the becoming. Every chosen one alive today is being asked to baha, not in some grand cinematic moment, but in a small quiet one. A single yes, a single no, a single conversation, a single direction. And the strange thing about bacha is that you do not feel ready before you do it. You feel ready in the moment of doing it. That is the secret Esther understood. Readiness is not a feeling that comes before the choice. Readiness is what happens inside you the moment you choose. But there is something Esther had that very few people understand. A quietness, a clarity inside her that allowed her to hear the moment when it came. And what scientists in the last 40 years have discovered about that exact inner state changes everything I am about to tell you next. Esther's quietness was not just emotional composure, it was a specific brain state. And in the last several decades, neuroscience has finally caught up to what the wisdom traditions have known for thousands of years. There is a frequency the human brain enters when it can finally hear the moment, when the noise drops, when the choice becomes obvious, when fear stops driving the steering wheel. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years of his life studying this exact phenomenon. His research has been referenced in studies coming out of MIT and Princeton and several other leading research universities. What he discovered is that almost every child is born with full access to this brain state. They learn quickly, they create freely, they make choices without overthinking. And then somewhere around the age of 7, the modern world starts shutting it down. Researchers have given this shutdown a name. They call it the decline effect. Most adults you meet are operating with only a fraction of the original signal they were born with. What Dr. Lake spent his career mapping is not one tool. It is a full sequence of restoration protocols. He calls it the path back to the youthful brain. He once said that what he is sharing publicly today is only the first phase, and that the rest comes when a chosen one is ready for it. And what I will share with you in the second half of this video is exactly that first phase, the doorway, the choosing frequency, the inner state that lets you bacha without trembling. But before I take you there, you need to breathe. You have been listening for a while now. Let me pause here for a moment. Just take one slow breath in through your nose and let it out through your mouth. There is nothing to receive in this breath. There is nothing to release. Just one breath, taken on purpose, in the middle of all of this. Notice that you have stayed with this voice for 15 minutes already. That is rare. Most people cannot stay with anything for 15 minutes anymore. The fact that you can is part of the formation we just talked about. The fact that you can stay is part of why you are ready for what comes next. Whatever I have already said, if it landed, that is enough to carry you for a week. The rest of this conversation is the part that ties everything together. So settle, breathe one more time, and let me show you what comes next. Here is what is still in front of us. You still do not know exactly which small choice is in front of you tonight. You still do not have the framework to recognize it the moment it appears. You still do not know what the choosing frequency feels like inside your own body or how to access it on demand. And you still do not have the permission you have been waiting for to act without certainty. All 4 of those open up in what comes next. 3 areas of your life are about to reorganize, and I will tell you specifically which ones. The Hebrew word bacha is going to come back, but this time as something you can do, not just understand. And the brain state that Esther stumbled into, the one Dr. Lake spent 34 years mapping, you will learn how to access in 7 minutes a day. Stay with me through this short break. You did not come this far to leave at the threshold. Welcome back, chosen one. If you stayed through the break, that is its own quiet sign. Most people drift away in the middle. The fact that you return tells me something specific about the season you are in. So let me give you what I promised. In what comes next, 3 areas of your life are going to reorganize, and I will name each one. The Hebrew word bacha will come back, but this time as something you can do tonight. The choosing frequency, the same one Esther carried into the throne room, you will learn how to access. And the permission you have been waiting for to act without certainty, you will receive it before this conversation ends. Stay close. The next 30 seconds is where the message you came for actually begins. For those entering this season, here is what is about to shift, and how to walk through it without losing your footing. The first area is the people around you. Some of the relationships in your life have been built around a smaller version of you, and they will not survive your becoming. Friendships that ran on shared complaint, on shared smallness, on shared hiding, will start to feel hollow. You will notice silence where there used to be conversation. You will feel a quiet ache, like someone is leaving a room you can no longer follow them out of. Do not chase. Do not over-explain. Do not apologize for becoming someone they cannot follow. The right people, the ones who recognize your new frequency without needing it explained, are already on their way. They will find you. They will not need to be convinced. The second area is your direction. The confusion of the last several months is going to lift in stages. Not all at once, but in 2 or 3 specific clarities, arriving over the next 60 days. The first will feel like a quiet certainty about something small. The second will be a door that opens in a direction you were not actively looking. The third will be a goodbye to a path you had been holding on to out of habit. Do not demand the full map at once. Do not sabotage by waiting for total certainty. Baka, one thing today. The next clarity is revealed only after the first one has been honored. The third area is the most personal. Your inner authority is shifting. Decisions that used to require committee approval, the kind of decisions you would talk over with 5 different people before acting, are about to become decisions you make alone. There will be an unfamiliar quiet around them. There will be a small grief at how long you waited for permission you never actually needed. Do not perform certainty you do not feel. Do not fake the inner authority you are still learning. Trust that the same hand that brought you here is teaching you how to walk alone, with company, in the season ahead. These 3 reorganizations are happening at the same time, in the same season, because the Father does not move you in pieces, He moves you whole. Before I take you into the next layer, there is something I owe you, in the spirit of full transparency. Everything I have shared so far is free. The framework you came here for is still ahead, but there is also a tool that supports the inner shift I have just described, and I would not be honest with you if I did not name it now. It is called the Genius Song. It is a 7-minute audio track. You listen with headphones once a day, and it gently tunes your brain back toward the gamma frequency, the same one we have been talking about, the same one that lets you hear the moment when it comes. The same brain state Esther carried into that throne room. The same one Dr. Lake spent 34 years mapping. If something inside you went still when I said that, the link is in the description below, and the pinned comment too. Look only if you feel led. Never before. But before any tool, there is one more thing the Father wants you to see, because without it, no tool will work the way it is meant to. The thing standing between you and the small choice is not what you have been telling yourself. It is not lack of clarity. It is not lack of information. It is not lack of the right circumstances. The thing standing between you and the choice is the part of you that needs the choice to be perfect before you are willing to make it. You are the kind of person who has read 3 books on this. You have watched a dozen videos. You have asked 7 friends. You have prayed about it more times than you can count. And still, you wait. You tell yourself you are being wise. You tell yourself you are gathering information. You tell yourself you are simply being responsible. But somewhere underneath, you know what is actually happening. Perfectionism is the most spiritual sounding form of fear. It dresses itself in wisdom and calls itself discernment, but underneath it is the quiet refusal to risk being wrong on the way to right. So today, in this moment, in this exact frame, I want you to receive something you have not given yourself in a very long time: permission. You are allowed to choose without certainty. You are allowed to take the small step before the full plan arrives. You are allowed to outgrow the version of you who needed permission from everyone in the room. You are allowed to be wrong on the way to right. You are allowed to honor your spirit's pull before your mind has caught up. And you are allowed to do all of this today, while the door is still open, before this season closes the way the last one did. And I sense the Father saying very clearly, I did not bring you this far to leave you here at the threshold. I am with you in the choosing. I have always been with you in the choosing. So hear who you are now, on the other side of that permission. You are the one who goes first, the one whose choice tonight opens a door for people you have not yet met. There are people downstream of your decision who do not know yet that they are waiting for you to choose. When you bakar, they receive their own clarity, 3 weeks or 3 months from now, in ways neither of you will fully understand at the time. You are the one who breaks the pattern, the hesitation in your bloodline, the small choices your father did not make, the small choices your mother could not see, the cycles that ran for 3 or 4 generations before you. They end in you, not because you fixed them, because you finally chose differently. You are the one who cannot live inauthentic. You have tried. You have failed. Every time you tried to settle for the smaller life, your spirit dragged you back. That was not a flaw. That was design. The choice in front of you tonight is not optional for you. It is constitutional. It is who you are. Pause. Just for a moment. You have been carrying a lot in this conversation, more than you came in expecting. Take one breath in. Let it out slowly. Notice that the quiet between us right now is the same quiet Esther sat in for 3 days before she walked into the throne room. You are sitting in your own version of those 3 days, just compressed into one breath. That is enough. The next part is the turning. So, settle, and let me show you the rest. Before I show you the framework, and I will show you, there is something even Esther did not have access to that you do. And once I tell you what it is, the whole map you have been looking for becomes obvious. Before I show you the tool, I need you to understand who you are inside this. You were not born ordinary. The reason you have always felt different, the reason the world has never quite fit you, is because the brain you were born with was operating at a frequency most adults around you had already lost. Gamma. The choosing frequency. The frequency of chosen ones. You did not lose yours by accident. You lost it by design. The same design that pulls every gifted child back into the average over the course of childhood. Here is the science underneath this. Dr. Robert Lake, after 34 years studying brainwave activity, mapped exactly what happens to the gamma frequency in the human brain over the first decades of life. His research has been referenced in studies coming out of MIT and Princeton and several other leading research universities. What he found is that gamma is not a frequency you have to acquire. It is the frequency you were born inside. The modern world, the school system, the stress patterns of adulthood, they slowly turn the volume down on it. And researchers gave this shutdown a name, the decline effect. By the time most adults are 40, they are operating at a fraction of the gamma signal they had at age 6. Remember earlier when I told you about the inner state Esther carried into the throne room, the quietness that let her hear the moment? That is gamma. She had it without knowing what it was. Science finally has a name for what she was sitting in for those 3 days. I want to tell you about a woman who reached out to me a while ago, a financial manager in her late 40s. She tried this for 18 days and felt nothing dramatic. She was a day away from asking for her refund. She decided to give it 2 more weeks, just out of curiosity, not faith. On day 34, She realized she had made a major work decision earlier that week without hesitation, the kind of decision that used to take her months. She had been sleeping deeper for 2 weeks. She did not have a moment of breakthrough. She had a slow morning where she woke up and realized her life was different. Sometimes that is how this works. You may be wondering, will it work for me? That is the right question. Here is what I can tell you. 18,366 people have used this so far, and less than 4% of them have asked for a refund inside the 90-day window, which means more than 96% kept it past the guarantee. That is not a guarantee that it works for you, but it is the strongest signal I know how to give you. I call this the genius song. It is 7 minutes, headphones, once a day. That is the entire instruction. Now let me show you the math, because this matters. A meditation app subscription runs around $15 a month. A weekend retreat runs $400 to $800. A single therapy session costs around $150. A biofeedback session in a clinic costs roughly $300, and most people need weeks of repeated visits. None of these target gamma specifically. The original price of the Genius Song was $49. For viewers of this conversation, Dr. Lake released it at $39, one time, no subscription. And alongside it come 4 bonuses. A version calibrated for children, valued at $19. The original book that inspired the Secret film, valued at $20. A guided visualization across 4 areas of life, valued at $29. And a 5-habit infographic to keep gamma activated long-term, valued at $12. That is $80 in bonuses with a $39 one-time investment. And the guarantee is keep the bonuses, which means if you ask for your money back inside 90 days, you keep all 4 bonuses anyway. One thing I have to protect you from: there are counterfeits online. The link in the description is the only place this exact $39 price exists, and the only place the keep the bonus guarantee applies. Anywhere else, you are getting something different. If your spirit said yes during any of this, the link is in the description and the pinned comment. Move only if you feel led. And later, when you are ready for the next phase of what Dr. Lake has built, the door called Destiny's Embrace will open in its own time. But the tool is only ever a means. So let me bring you back to what the Father is doing inside you, because the becoming is the real point. Here is what I want you to leave with. In plain words, there is a small choice in front of you. You already know what it is. You knew before this conversation started. The reason it has kept appearing in different forms for years is because it is the door to a bigger architecture you cannot yet see. The thing that has stopped you from taking it has not been lack of clarity. It has been the part of you that needed the choice to be perfect before you would let yourself act. You are allowed to choose without certainty. That is what Bacha means. The act of choosing is itself the becoming. You do not have to feel ready first. Readiness shows up the moment you take the step. That is the framework. That is the message. Hold it. Before I close this with you, I want you to do something quietly. You can stay exactly where you are. You do not need to move. Just soften your eyes, or close them if you can. In your mind, see yourself standing in front of a doorway. The door is half open. You can see light coming through the crack. On the other side of that doorway is the version of you who has already chosen. They are not better than you. They are not more spiritual than you. They are not stronger than you. They are just on the other side of one small yes that you have not yet given. Now take one slow breath in. And as you breathe out, take one step toward that doorway in your mind. Notice the air change as you move closer. Notice your breath go deeper without you asking it to. That is the choosing frequency. That is what Esther sat in. That is what is in you right now. Stay there for one more breath. And now, hear what is being declared over you in this exact moment. If you are still here, listening, breathing, this part is for you specifically, not for the algorithm, not for the next viewer. For you, in the body you are in the chair you are sitting in the day you are living. Release what you came in with. Release the need for perfect conditions. Release the fear of the small thing. Release the apology you have been carrying for becoming who you were always meant to be. None of those came from heaven. They were borrowed from rooms you no longer live in. And so today, hear this. Today you choose. Today you cross. Today you become. You are the one who goes first. You are the one who breaks the pattern. You are the one who carries the truth into a room that has not yet heard it. And I sense the Father declaring over you very clearly, I have set life before you. Choose. I am with you in the choosing. I have always been with you in the choosing. And so it is done, not because I declared it, but because heaven was always going to say it on this day, in this voice, into the quiet you are sitting in right now. Before you go, do one small thing. Comment the words, I choose, below, if your spirit said yes during any part of this. That comment is your first baha tonight. Tap the like as a small confirmation that this message reached the one it was meant for. If this is the kind of conversation you needed, the channel is here so the next one finds you in time. And share this with the one specific person whose face came to mind while you were listening. The one standing at their own threshold tonight. They will not ask for it, but it will arrive at exactly the moment they need it. This was not a video. This was a conversation. Take it with you into tonight.